Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is The Increase of Money Supply means a decrease in money value. Pretty much this title came to me earlier. I was watching the video that Elder Malcolm did on his channel here, GMS Maccabean Spirit, How Ye Rich Men. And he was speaking about inflation, breaking inflation down. And it inspired me to start thinking about the whole monetary system and just different things in general, different thoughts, ideas coming into mind, scriptures. So, then eventually the title came to me, which I wrote down in my notes, called The Increase of Money Supply Means a Decrease in Money Value. And, the increase of money supply, not real money, but this fiat currency that you see circulating, around the world pretty much. Because the standard monetary unit of the world pretty much is the US dollar. Which when you look up that term dollar is not money. It is an expression of money. And it's supposed to be, according to the Constitution, the only thing that's really supposed to be valued as money are gold and silver coins. And the current dollars that we have, or that are in circulation right now, come from the Federal Reserve, which is a privately owned organization that was created in 1913, and they pretty much are the reason why the world today is in such a debt as it is, because they understand the concept of money, they understand the concept of money lending, they understand the concept of interest / usury, and they understand that once a person is such in debt that they can't pay their loans, that the next step would be for that person to be a perpetual slave. And this is pretty much where they have the world in. They have it cornered in the market. Hold on for a second. Never fail. So that's why they have the world in a situation where it's in right now. So it prompted me to put a few things together, and Lord's will, this will be an edifying lesson. There's no particular structure. It's just going to go in the spirit. I just got some information. I got some precepts, not lined up in any particular order. Like I said, just going to go in the spirit. So what we're going to do is we're going to go first and foremost. Well, I put this this video in the description box. You brothers that want to watch it, check it out. Good video, edifying. So when he started speaking about the money situation, it prompted me to, the spirit came to me, with the quote from Maya Amschel Bauer: "Give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws." So it says, so said Maya Amschel Rothschild, founder of the Rothschild banking dynasty, because they started off as money lenders, and they weren't just lending. I mean, they were lending money, but what really made them rich was when they started lending money to kings. They started making big bank because the money was being lent upon interest or usury. So you lend money to individuals at a certain rate, and then they will have to pay you back that money plus more, which would be the interest, and that would be the money that they make off of lending that money. It's much like a loan shark, for those who want it in layman's terms. They're nothing more than high-tech loan sharks, all right? And because they have the control of the money supply through something known as a central bank, which centralizes everything. Everything has to go through them. They create the money and lend it out to the government or governments for a fee, which the so-called American government can do on its own through the Constitution. All right. So this brings us to a term called cui bono. Cui bono, there's a literal meaning for it, but really when you break it down in the least common denominator, it really means who good. Who good. It also means who benefits, but really when you break the word down to the least common denominator, cui is who and bono is good. Who good. So cui bono with a question mark at the end. It says Latin, in English, to whom is it a benefit? Is a Latin phrase about identifying crime suspects. So this is how you identify a crime suspect. It expresses the view that crimes are often committed to benefit their perpetrators, especially financially, which party benefits may not be obvious, and there may be a scapegoat. But pretty much the ones who tend to benefit financially are usually the ones that committed the crime. And when we look around the world, they call them the 1%ers, which are the international banking families, the Fortune 500 families. These are the families that own, the 1% of the families that own pretty much the whole stock of the world, and the main way that they got into it was through the money system. In any country you go to, the way that they do their thing is through the money system. This is why you have something called economic hitmen. Economic hitmen infiltrate countries through their leaders, offering them a good amount of money. And when that doesn't work, they send in the real hitmen and take that leader out, and then eventually get what they want anyway, because it's all these big banking corporations that are benefiting off the backs of the people of the world, the poor of the world. Capitalists. There's another video called Capitalist Conspiracy by G. Edward Griffin, which is good. I've been watching today the Money Masters. I forget the guy's name that was narrating it, but I was watching that also, watching how we've watched it before, but it's like a 3.5 hour video. So, there's a lot of information in there, so you have to watch it in parts, just to get in the frame of mind of the money situation. And money, honest and true money, is gold and silver. Now you can have other things that are money, which would be cattle, land, things of that nature. What I want to do is I want to look up the term money. Let's see. Right. So when we look up the term money, right, the term money is funds, means anything convertible into money. Coinage, coin, metal, currency. And these are really the main tangible things of money is coinage, metals, money, coin, currency, change. See, Latin moneta, place for coining money, mint. That's where you have a U.S. mint, I believe it's called. From moneta, a title or surname of the Roman goddess Juno. Because Juno, they always, go back to those fake deities, and give honor to them, because everything they do is in honor of a false god. So you know that, right? Near whose temple on the Capitoline Hill money was coined. See, that's why you have what? Capitol Hill in America. Everything that they do is satanic. Everything that they do is about witchcraft. So near whose temple on the Capitoline Hill money was coined, and in which perhaps the precious metal was stored, from monere, advise, warn, admonish, monitor. See, because money, you monitor everything through money. That's why the scriptures say that. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick to get some precepts in there. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, because you got to know this, man. Ecclesiastes 7 and 12. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. Now, when you look up the word money in the Hebrew, the word for money in the Hebrew just happens to be kasap, which means silver, money, as metal. Because that's really the ultimate, what's the word I'm looking for? The ultimate measure of money is gold and silver, precious metals. Money, then you have a term called shekels. Let's see. Let's go look up the word shekel. It first appears in Genesis 24 and 22. And it came to pass, as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden earring of half a shekel weight, and 2 bracelets for her hands of 10 shekels weight of gold. So let's look up the word shekels. That was dealing with Rebecca. Okay, we got a half shekel, it's bakwai, and then you have shekels weight. This one doesn't pop up because the shekel is a weight. So let's see what it says for half shekel. Bakwai, half, part also called shekel of the sanctuary, or holy shekel. So that's a half shekel. So we look up the word shekel in general. I just want to look up the word shekel. Half a shekel, half shekel, after the shekel of the sanctuary, after the shekel. Let's see, after the shekel, speaking about the shekel of the sanctuary, which is a half shekel. Let's try this here. Shekel, that's it right there, shekel. Shekel, the chief unit of weight or measure. Then you got gold, silver, copper, depending on the rarity or the preciousness, so to speak, of the metal would be what the measurement would be set at. All right, so that's that on that. So shekel, and then as we read, money is a defense. Which the word money is silver, coin, metal is a defense. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 19. A feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. So money answers all things. And once again, when you look up the word money, kasap, it's expressed in kasap. It answereth all things. So when you have money, it monitors things. It you can have business. Where the hell are we? Right here. You can conduct business. You can pay your bills. But without it, when you're just giving paper money, all it does is accumulate debt. It doesn't really pay off a debt. You really can't pay off a debt with a debt, because you're just going to keep chasing that debt. It's never going to go away. All right. And that's why when you take on the FRNs, you become more and more indebted. And that's why you see the national debt keeps increasing exponentially because the loans that are being lent out, or the paper that's being lent out as money, is not really money. So it's not really paying for anything. It's just keeping people in a constant state of debt. And that causes what? Debt slavery. So cui bono, then we looked up the term. Now we look at the term because cui bono leads to who benefits, which leads to follow the money trail. The investigation of a series of financial transactions, for example, in order to reveal wrongdoing or to find out what happened. If you want to find out who is behind it, then just follow the money trail. And the money trail leads right to the international bankers, which are the ones that are benefiting the most, from the central banks that they set up here in America. And from that point that they set it up in 1913, right? That was the establishment of it. It took about a period of 31 years, I think, or so, before they made the dollar, American dollar, the world reserve currency of the world, which replaced the British pound. You see? And that's why Michael Rivero did a documentary called All Wars Are Bankers' Wars, because it's all about jockeying for position. I finally got that term right. I used to say jockeying for position, but the correct term is jockeying for position, which Apostle Tara corrected me on it. Which is I'm talking, jockeying for position, the slang, but it's really jockeying, because a jockey sits on a horse, and the main thing for the jockey to do is to get in position in front of the other horses so that they could win, the race. So jockeying for position. All right. For example, in order to reveal wrongdoing or to find out what happened, if you want to find out who is behind it, then just follow the money trail. And it leads to the international bankers, which leads us to money lenders. Money lender, a person whose business is lending money to others who pay interest. Because the Rothschilds, when they were first set up, their name was Bauer. The last name was Bauer. The name Bauer means peasant. So when they were setting up their banking institution or banking institution lending money, they had a red shield outside of their home in Germany, and they put a red shield on there so that they can be recognized as, this is where the Bauer family lives. But eventually that term red shield took on that name Rothschild, or red shield, or red child, which is synonymous with Esau, but that's how they got the term Rothschild. So they're the ones that have cornered the market of the world financially through money lending off of interest. And what is interest? Interest is legal claim or right, a concern, a benefit, advantage. Damage, loss, harm. Okay, got a whole lot here. Financial sense of money paid for the use of money lent. And this is, more like it. And when we read the scriptures, which Lord's will, we're going to get to that, you can lend, gold and silver could be lent upon usury, but you could also lend cattle and land and substance, food supply, whatever it is that you have as money, you could lend it upon usury, upon interest. And if let's say you have a banana field and somebody borrows bananas from you, they will have to pay you those bananas back plus more. So that would be the interest or the usury on top of what they lent you, which was against the scriptures unless you were lending to someone of another nation. Beautiful. The brother servant of Yahweh Yasha'Allah, of Yasha'Allah 144. Money came from the French word l'argent. Yep, argent is where you get the word silver. And argent definition is silver. Yep, argentum, argent. Yep, like you have the country called Argentina, The reason why it's called Argentina is because of the silver that was found there, you know. So argent. It's good some good stuff. I'm gonna use Mike's terms, RTD. Good stuff. All right, so that's pretty much what interest is when you look up the term or the word interest. Interest in finance and economics is payment from a borrower or deposit taking financial institution to a lender or depositor of an amount above repayment of the principal sum. That is the amount borrowed, yeah. So it's the money on top of what was lent at a particular rate. It is distinct from a fee. So now, building off of that, let's go to the book of Proverbs 22:7. It says, the rich ruleth over the poor. And there's no mistake on who the rich are. The rich are the bankers. And the word for rich is the word Aishayar. Rich, wealthy. The rich, the wealthy, rich man. All right. So the rich ruleth, the word ruleth, mashal. Mashal, to rule, have dominion, reign. That's why they become, another word for dominion is what? Lord. And that's what they become over the people. They become lords over the people. Or another term would be despot. All right. Another term would be despot. Right? Despot. Despot, a ruler or other person who holds absolute power, typically one who exercises it in a cruel or oppressive way. And that's right, because when you're indebted to somebody, they don't treat you nice. And their whole thing is you're a slave to that person until you pay off that debt. And that's what most people don't understand. That's why when we go into the history with our forefather Joseph, the Egyptian people became indebted to the Pharaoh. And the Pharaoh set up Joseph over the affairs, over the financial affairs of the kingdom. Because the Lord gave him the definition or the breakdown or the mystery of the dreams that the Pharaoh had. So he was set up over the finances. And people would bring their money. And when their money was exhausted, they would bring their cattle. And when the cattle was exhausted, they brought their land and themselves, for collateral in order to pay off whatever debt they had to pay off so that they can eat. And pretty much that's what we see going on right now. So what's happening in a nutshell is that the banking families of the world that have created the Federal Reserve and sent out all of these different FRNs and lent it upon the people by usury / interest. Now the interest is getting to the point where it's devaluing the current currency because there's more being printed into place, and they're about to do something called a reset. And that reset means that they're about to call in these debts. So before we go to that, let's go to the word usury. It says the illegal action or practice of lending money at an unreasonably high rates of interest. See? Unreasonably high rates of interest, and interest in general. Because it says here, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. So you end up becoming a slave or a servant to the lender. And the debts have to be paid in when the ones that lent the money call the loans in, which is what we're witnessing right now. Calling in loans. A call loan is a loan that the lender can demand to be repaid at any time. So if that's the case and the people do not have the money to pay for it, what do you think is going to happen? They have to become the actual collateral for that debt. Whether it's a lifetime debt, whether they're in slavery for a certain period of time. But in this case, they want it to be perpetual. That's why they have the digital awl, which the scriptures call an awl, which in the New Testament is known as the MOTB or the charagma, And this is what they want to do. So financially, they back the people of the world into a corner to where they have to either comply with the system or the agenda, or face starvation. Most people face starvation, and the ones that are somewhat self-sufficient, eventually they're going to run out of those supplies, because they want a total control. Like they're saying right now that, which is more division. They're saying right now that the people, it's an RT article, that the people that do not have the juice works, that have not received their juice crew card, to be a member of it, they're the ones that's responsible for the shortages, which is causing a great division between the ones that got the juice works and the ones that didn't get it, to cause what? Total chaos. Because they want people to comply, because they have an agenda. The scriptures say that this devil could never have enough. The scriptures also say that this devil is establishing something known as the MOTB, and that would be set up as the currency, so to speak, to be able to operate and function in this society. Which what we're seeing right now, that jab is nothing more than a precursor, a getting people used to that way of living, because the new norm is that people think that by them complying that everything was going to go back to how it was before, but it's not. It's going to continue to get progressively worse until they want, the goal that they want is to chip everybody, but that's not going to happen. They're only going to get the ones that the Lord doesn't want. So building off of that, let's go to Exodus 22:25. Right? It says, if thou lend money, which is silver, real money is silver, which the money that they're lending is paper money, to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. Now, when we look up the word usurer and usury, it should be the same word. Yep. Just a little bit different. The word usurer, which would be the lender, is nasha, which is to lend, be a creditor. See, when you're a creditor, you're supposed to be a righteous creditor, not a wicked creditor. And these devils are wicked creditors, because the money that they're lending does not have proper worth. All right, let's go back, because we're gonna let's see, where's there's another precept. Right. All right. So it goes, usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. Usury is the word nashak, which is a offshoot of the other word that we just read, interest, usury, which goes hand in hand. Interest on a debt. And this is why they want the whole world debt. That's why they call it a national debt. And pretty much it should be called a worldwide debt, because all nations on the planet that are using the dollar are in debt because of the dollar. And that's why you see in different countries opting out of the dollar, or some of them are buying into the dollar to what's the word I'm looking for, to buy shares, so to speak, in this debt so that they can collect, so let's see, that's it on that. So going back, let's read that again. And this is why the Lord says not to lend upon usury upon Israel. We could do it to the other nations, and this is what Esau is trying to do, when they put this on us, because they're trying to treat us as if we're the strangers that they can lend upon usury too. So if thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. If thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him by that the sun goeth down. And in this society, they'll take your clothing, they'll take your jewelry, they'll take your homes, they'll take your dogs, they'll take your land, whatever it is. They don't give a shit. You know, ask Red Fox if he was still alive. It says, "For that is his covering only, it is his raiment for his skin. Wherein shall he sleep? And it shall come to pass when he crieth unto me that I will hear, for I am gracious." So the woes and the complaints of the poor, you know, especially of the poor of Israel, are going into the ears of the Most High. That's why he says, "Woe unto, you know, the rich men," because they're going to be in misery, because they have the whole world in misery, because they're in a position, a lofty position, faring sumptuously every day, always in a good frame of mind, because they ripped the world off. And off of the misery and the tears and the sweat and toil of the people of the world, they became rich. And those cries do not go unanswered or unheard. All right. Now, let's see what else we have. Let's go to Leviticus 19:35. "You shall not do unrighteousness in judgment, in meat yard, in weight, or in measure." And the meat yard, weight, measure, that all goes into the different weights, different weight system that we had to measure whether it was solids, whether it was liquids, whether it was grain, whether it was silver, whether it was gold. Because you have some that would fix the weights so that they can, they'll make it seem like it's one weight, but it could actually be either heavier or lighter depending on what they were selling, so that they can benefit more and give you less, which is the same thing that's going on today. As you see, there was videos out where the dude saying, "Look, you paying more money for the same product that you got maybe a year or two ago, but you notice that the product is shrinking because they're making you pay more money for the same product, but it's not the same product because there's less of that product that you're buying for more money." But it's not because of the increase in price, it's because of the decrease of the money. That's why the lesson is called "The Increase of Money Supply Means a Decrease in Money Value," because the more you pump in, the less value you have. Why is gold the most precious out of all the metals? Because there's less of it. You see, they said that, I believe it was the Money Masters, I believe he said that when you, on a ratio between gold and silver, I think they said silver outweighs gold or is more in gold by more than 15%. You know, so the gold out there, which is most precious, there's less of it than there is a silver or any other of the different metals. You see? But see, with that, you can't manipulate gold unless you take, like these devils do, you take tungsten, which weighs the same as gold, and you take gold and you put gold over the tungsten, which make it seem like there's more, but there's not. Because when you really go in there, it's mixed with a different metal. It's not pure gold. But in the case of the FRNs, which are these dollars, the more they pump in, the weaker the dollar becomes. You know, and the analogy that G. Edward Griffin made was of a soup. When you make a soup, when they first make it, it's good, it's thick. You know, it has meat in it. It has chunks of meat. It has chunks of potatoes, carrots, corn, whatever you put in it. But as it keeps dwindling and you keep adding more water, it keeps watering that soup. It might still have a little taste to it. You know, it's still soup, but it's not the soup that you first made because it's being cheapened. And that's exactly what's happening with the money supply. It's being cheapened by the more that they pump into it. They're watering the finance or the buying power of that same dollar because they've pumped so many more into circulation. That's why the prices seem like they're going up, but it's not really the prices going up. It's the value of the dollar going down. Hence, the increase of money supply means a decrease in money value. And the money supply I'm talking about are the dollars, not real money like silver and gold or coins. All right, so let's see where we're at. We read that. So it says, you shall not do, yes, you shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, in meat yard, in weight, or in measure. So we looked up the word. Let's look up the word meat yard. Measure, measurement, stature, size, garment. Measure, active measurement. Measurement, size, portion. See? So you're not supposed to do any, whenever you measuring things out, you're not supposed to do it wickedly. That's why, let's see, that's why here in Proverbs 11:1, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord. What is a balance? A false balance. Meaning you have those deceitful weights. And that's exactly what these international banking families do. Let's go real quick to Micah 6:10. Are there yet the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked, and the scant measure that is abominable? Because they're not measuring things out in the proper worth. They're doing it wickedly. So let's see. We have the word scant in the house of the wicked, and the scant. And when you look up the word scant, it's the word razawan, which means leanness, scantness, wasting, leanness, wasting of disease, scantness of measure. And when something is scant, means is less of it. Okay. Scant, barely sufficient or adequate. Like when you go to a grocery store and you try to get some spaghetti sauce, and you go to the spaghetti sauce aisle and there's hardly anything there, that's a scant measure. But not scant because I'm using the word scant as far as scarcity. But scant measure as far as financially means that the thing that you're putting out there that's supposed to be of value has a lot less value than what you're making it seem, just to put it in layman's terms. All right. So scantness, so a scant measure, the word is ayapa, ephah. An ephah is a measurement. It's a dry measure of quantity equal to 3 seahs, and it gives you a whole list of different, measurements. The receptacle for measuring or holding that amount. All right. So that's the measure. So everything that you're doing is done scarcely. But when it comes to the payment, you're making out a lot more than what you're giving. That's why in the Apocrypha, I believe that's the book of Ecclesiasticus 27 and 2. As a nail sticketh fast between the joining of the rocks, of the stones. If you take a nail with a hammer and you have 2 stones and you beat that nail between those stones, what's going to happen? It's going to stick in there real good. It's going to be hard for you to get out. Even when you have what they call petrified wood, which is wood that's real hard, and you try to drive a nail in there, it's hard to get that nail in there. You bend a whole bunch of nails, and then when you try to get it out, you have an even harder time. Sometimes you have to cut it with a sawzall because it won't come out because it's stuck in there. So as a nail sticketh fast between the joining of the stones, so doth sin stick close between buying and selling. Why? Because there's no honesty. You heard the term, there's no honor among thieves. Because the rich are getting richer off of the backs of the poor. And they're doing it in wickedness. It's not like they're doing it in a righteous manner. They're doing it in wickedness by that scant measure that we're speaking about. So let's read that again. Are there yet the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked, and the scant measure that is abominable? So this is an abomination to the Lord. A scant measure. That's what we read in Proverbs 11:1, a false balance is the abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight, because everything was supposed to be done properly. That's why we're going back to the law. Is to be have no unrighteousness in judgment, in meat yard, in weight, or in measure. Right? So going back, then Proverbs 20:23, divers weights are an abomination unto the Lord, and a false balance is not good. See, so that's going into weights and measures, money, product that like you have a 5-pound bag of potatoes, but when you get those potatoes home, one of the potatoes is actually a rock that might weigh about a half a pound or a pound, which means you got 4 pounds of potatoes for the same price of 5 pounds. But you didn't get 5 pounds of potatoes. You got less because of a scant measure. And that's what the dollar is doing. That's why the debt is how it is. That's why inflation is as it is. Last week, I went to get gas at a particular place that I go to, and the gas was like $3.30 something. I went yesterday, it's like $3.55. You know, a couple of months back, I bought some Lysol spray, you know, which at one time was hard to get. You know, you go to certain places, you get a 3-pack, you know, and it was 12 something for a 3-pack a few months ago. Went there yesterday to grab some, and it ended up costing a whole $1 more. People are like, oh, it's just $1, but $1 from about a couple of months ago to now, that's a lot. Why is that? Because of inflation. And the continuance of that leads to what? Hyperinflation. Now, I don't know if they're going to give me the right definition for hyperinflation, but let's see. Hyperinflation definition. Monetary inflation occurring at a very high rate, but that's just the symptom. They're not telling you what the cause is. Let's see. And I looked up something. Let me see if I can find it. 1925, in the economic sense, for hyper, over, exceedingly, to excess inflation. So excess inflation. Earlier as a medical term and treatment of lung disease, but it doesn't really go. But interest, when we read further down right here, financial sense of money paid for the use of money lent. No, that wasn't it. It was something else that I had. What was it that I looked up? Right here. Inflation. Swelling caused by gathering of wind in the body, flatulence. That's one definition of it. Gas. Right here. Monetary sense of enlargement of prices originally by an increase in the amount of money in circulation. That's exactly what it is. An increase on enlargement of prices by an increase in the amount of money in circulation. That's the proper definition of inflation. So hyperinflation would be an excess of that. So you're talking about exponential growth. It's like, you know, there's no set price. It's not like, okay, well, it just increases by 10%. No, it just increases. The more out of control the money gets, the more it increases. You know, you had instances in history with with Germany, the Weimar Deutschmark. Then you had the Zimbabwean dollar, and you had other instances in history where the dollar became so corrupt in those countries that you had $100,000 million notes, which you would think people were rich, but no, it's because of the devaluing of the money. And you needed stacks and stacks of that just to buy a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk or whatever it is that you're trying to buy. That's the increase of money supply, meaning with these FRNs, means a decrease in money value. And I'm not a financial expert. I'm not trying to be a financial expert. You know, I know enough to where, you know, the scriptures make sense. And that's as far as it goes for me. I'm not trying to get super deep into the financial breakdowns and all the different little terminologies of finance and how this works and all the little nooks and crannies. I'm just getting in enough to where I could explain what the scriptures mean, and that's as far as it goes for me. You know, so I'm not an expert. So, hey, well, you know, you went off. Well, look, I'm not an expert. I'm not trying to be an expert. I'm not trying to be the next financial expert on these social media platforms, alternative media platforms, breaking down, the way that money works and all that. I'm just know enough to explain what the scriptures are talking about, and that's all that interests me. All right. So let's see what we have. We read that. We read that. Back in Leviticus 19:36, just balances, just weights, a just ephah, a just hin, and a just hin shall you have. These are all measurements. I am the Lord your power, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. And we were supposed to have that among ourselves, but among the other nations, we could lend them upon usury. We could gain interest off of money lent to them because they are slaves anyway. So let's see, we read that. Okay, we can go back to this. I was going to go through a couple of laws, but you can go through yourself. Deuteronomy, the 15th chapter is a good chapter. When you get a chance, read that. This goes into the year of release. And the year of release pretty much was, well, let me read the 11th verse. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thine hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor and to thy needy in thy land, because they were the ones that needed to borrow because they were in need. And the Lord said that they will always be. So they will come every 6 years. When the 6th year will come in, the very next year would be a year of release. And Esau used to do that. I don't know if they do it anymore. When you had a credit card, every 7 years they will wipe your slate clean. And this is how you kept a balance between having, people be poor and becoming servants, to clearing them of that debt so that they can start over with a new slate. And then you also had the year of Jubilee, which was every 50 years. For that you can read Leviticus 25, goes into that. And also in Leviticus 25, you had the law of redemption of the land, the possession of land, of goods, and also of the poor, of your people. All right, so going back to Micah 6:10, are there yet the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked? And the answer to that is yes, because the Lord got to take them out in order for that to stop, because they're not going to stop on their own, because they're the wicked. And the scant measure that is abominable, shall I count them pure with the wicked balances? And what are the wicked balances? The way that they handle money, the way that they handle products that they sell, the weights and the measures that they give to people, and another part of that would be the non-food, chemical food that they're selling as food. That's scant measure. It says, and with the bag of deceitful weights, and that's all they've been doing since they set up these central banks. The first two central banks had a 20-year charter, which when they ran out, they closed them out. And guess what happened? They waged war on this place. They finally got a central bank in place that had the appearance of a governmental agency, the Federal Reserve. And that had no charter. So from that point on, they were able to control and manipulate the money, the price, everything. And then not too long after that, not even 20 years later, after they established that, you had what? You had the Depression, the Great Depression. All based off of that, off of that fake money. Which prior to that, you didn't have those problems like that unless there were central banks in place. Because the so-called government has the ability to print money without having to pay somebody a fee for it, a private corporation. It says, for the rich men thereof are full of violence, and that's what it brings. Usury and debt brings violence, because what does a loan shark do when you can't pay? They start taking parts off you. They start breaking legs. They start breaking arms, until they get what they want. So with this, in the case of these devils, they're bigger gangsters, banksters. So their thing is getting the whole world chipped, and whoever doesn't comply got to die. That's what the scriptures speak about. Those that don't receive the MOTB, certain ones of them will be beheaded. That's violence. And when you owe people money, that's what it brings out of people. It brings the ugly out of them. And that's what these devils are about to do. These devils are about to release the ugly out of them. When they're calling these debts in. They're calling these loans in. It says, and the inhabitants thereof have spoken lies, and their tongue is deceitful in their mouth. Yeah, because they're making you believe that it's actual money, but it's not. They got all these different financial reports, you know, and they got all of these, you know, the stocks, you know, being traded at Wall Street, and this is doing that, and that's doing that. You can invest your money in this, that, and the other, but they're not telling you how money really works. Therefore also will I make thee sick in smiting thee, in making thee desolate because of thy sins. So that's one of the reasons why the Lord is going to destroy this place. Them that oppress the hireling in his wages, these false balances, this fake money. Thou shalt eat, it says, but not be satisfied. Right. And thy casting down shall be in the midst of thee. Yeah, because the Lord is going to take you down. The same way that you did what you did is going to cause you to fall. The Lord said that matter of fact, let me get it real quick. Let's go to, and just escaped me. Hold on. Casting down be in the midst of thee. And it was just in my mind for a hot minute, then it just bounced. Thou shalt eat but not be satisfied, and thy casting down shall be in the midst of thee. There was a point that I had wanted to make with another precept. Oh, Brakateh Bashim El Shai. Let's go to Psalms chapter 7. Psalm 7:14. Behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and hath conceived mischief, and brought forth falsehood. And that's exactly what they do. Everything that these devils do is false. From the gods that they worship, to the doctrine or dogma that they teach, to the money that they produce, all falsehood. Teachers of lies. He made a pit and digged it. Yeah, because he made this pit, he digged this pit for the majority of the people to fall in. Especially the Israelites, the real Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, and wherever they may be at, no matter where on the planet, no matter what they look like. He digged this pit. This system is a pit. It says, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. Because this is going to be his own undoing. The plans and the agenda that he's pushing for, the closer he gets to achieving it, the closer he gets to falling. And they're so retarded that the scriptures say that they didn't consider the latter end of it. Because it's like they know, but then they don't know, you know. And they're thinking that, well, you know, they slipped and slid. Does the Most High know? Because he see? You know, because they were fooled to think that the Most High was with them. But the Lord ain't with them. He's with them to a certain degree to make them accomplish his mission, his will, to fulfill his prophecies. But he's not with them as far as them being his people or accepting them for any type of salvation. It says, his mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate. So this establishment of this agenda that they're pushing to put the whole world in captivity is going to be their own undoing. All right, I will praise the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai according to his righteousness, and will sing praise to the name of the Lord Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Call Haloyim Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And those are the names of the Heavenly Father and of Son. Let's see what else we got. Micah 6:14. Thou shalt eat, but not be satisfied, and thy casting down shall be in the midst of thee, and thou shalt take hold, but shalt not deliver, and that which thou deliverest will I give up to the sword. Because everything that they've done, the gaining by usury, as we read in Ecclesiasticus, let's get that real quick. The 10th chapter in the 8th verse. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit. And how is that? Through usury. The kingdom is translated from one people to another. So what we're witnessing, or what we're about to witness, is a great translation of wealth, of kingdoms, from one people, Esau, and the other nations to another, beginning with Yahushai and Yasha'Allah. Proverbs 28:8. He that by what? Usury and unjust gain increases his substance. Is that now how is that now how they got is that not how they got their wealth? Yes. By usury, by unjust gain. They've increased their substance. They have more than heart could wish. They can never have enough. They're constantly spoiling. But the Lord said, when you cease to spoil, you shall be spoiled. Because they're about to sit back, relax, chill, and eat. But they don't understand that at that very moment, when they're sitting at the table with the fork and knife in their hand, about to dig in, the Most High is going to dig in. How about that? He that by usury and unjust gain increases the substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor, because the Lord is going to turn around and give all of these substances to us. That's why it says that we shall boast in their riches. Do you see? And there's many other precepts we could go to dealing with that. And this was, like I said, some thoughts and ideas I had watching Elder Malcolm's video, How Ye Rich Men, which prompted me to think of this, Give Me Control of a Nation's Money, which was Maya Amschel Rothschild, which his name was Borrow first. And then it led to the term Qui Bono, who benefits. Then it led to, Follow the Money Trail. Then it led to money lender's definition, right? Which leads to interest, because it mentioned interest there, which interest is usury, which we looked up the term usury. Then we looked up the term interest, and on and on and on. And then we hit some precepts, this being one of the main ones: the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. And that is so true. And when you read through the law of redemption, I believe it's either this one or the other one, it leads you to the point where the Lord is going to give us such great increase that we're going to lend to the nations, and they're not going to, that we're going to be able to lend to the nations, and that we're not going to have the poor among us, right? Deuteronomy 15:6. For the Lord thy power blessed thee as he promised thee, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow. And thou shalt reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee. But the exact opposite happened, because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right, so with that, I pray that your brothers and your few sisters have been edified. Hope that the lesson was edifying, and Lord's will to the next time. Shalom.